We live.
What's happening, man? Welcome back to the Epicenter podcast. That's DAEPICENTRE, the British way, in case you didn't know.
The UK way.
You know what I'm saying? The voice you're listening to right now is none other than Mr. Sir, Your Highness King Bril, and I'm here with my dog, the greatest co-host in the world, Mr. Girls Like Sterl.
You already know what it is, man. Pump the energy up, man.
Pump the energy up.
Yeah, you soft, man. Let's run it. Hello. Let's get it. New theme song alert. Turn me up. Gotta watch and see. Here we go. We live today. We live. New spot vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Fucking pod day.
It's pod day. We lit. Y'all can't hear it out there, but we got a new theme song. It's up. But yeah, I'm in the building, man. It's good. What's going on?
Fire, man. We feeling good, man. It's warm outside. It's hot.
It's hot, man.
Now, you know what I'm saying? North Carolina weather. You think we escaped that last fall? I mean, the last winter?
Hopefully. I think you jinxed us when you said it was going to be another false winter. So
yeah, we might not see 50 degrees again until October.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
hopefully so.
Until it's after 9 p.m. But, you know, enough about that, man. We got to get into this episode because this is a very, very special episode, man. We know it's summertime. We know everybody's outside probably drowning their sins and their mental health in liquor. But, man, we couldn't help but take the time to talk about the things that are important, which is our mental, our mind. So I want to ask you, Stir, how you doing today, dog?
I'm good. Right? I'm good. I'm glad you asked me every episode how I'm doing, just in case something changes. But nothing much has changed. You know, we went out last night. We did the bar crawl. I'm alive. We didn't go too crazy, so I'm good, man. Everything. Just another day, man. Another day to pod, and we got good people in the back. Live audience today. You know what I'm saying? Fam is in the back. Who we got in the building? Pank in the building. Mac in the building. Mac and cheese in the building.
Mac and cheese.
Kayla J in the building. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
Got the bros in the building. Type shit.
Shy Keys in the building. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all pulling up with vibes.
Yes, sir.
And we have two very, very special guests who are going to help us and participate in this conversation about mental health. We have D'Angelo and Bree. I'm not sure the official names we want to go about. Is there a moniker that we want to introduce you guys as?
We'll let them introduce themselves real quick.
We got ladies first. We can go right.
The Healing Hottie.
The Healing Hottie. Okay.
In the building.
And D'Angelo Taylor, famous Q.
That's what it is.
Powerful. So give our audience a little breakdown about you guys' reference, your guys' point of view, who you are, what are your status, what's your status, and whatnot, accolades, all that thing.
You want to take over?
Sure. So
don't be scared of talking these mic now.
I'm not.
Get loud, and I know there's people in here. We got to turn it up.
All right. So I'm originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Moved to Charlotte about a year ago.
You fresh.
Yeah, I know. And I have just been on this journey for the past 2-3 years or so, just trying to change my life and enjoy life to the fullest. So I have been making a lot of content around mental health and just how to manage adulthood in general.
It's lovely.
Nice.
Dog T.
Got you. So, again, my name is D'Angelo Taylor. I'm a licensed professional counselor, a wellness coach, executive consultant, music producer. I own a mental health private practice, Soundtrack to Life, LLC. Also an author. I have a journal called the Soundtrack Journal, Make Your Life a Priority, which I'll probably talk about a little later. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina as well.
2-6 in the building today, man. How to cut you off there?
Yeah.
We here today. I went to UNC Charlotte. Pledged Omega Psi Phi fraternity, Epsilon Zeta, the greatest fraternity on earth.
You know what I'm saying?
And then I left Charlotte, man, and I moved to DC, and that's where I got my master's in counseling. Psych. Did some work up there. Did some work in government, in schools, and education. Started a few businesses up that way, and was able to create the space to now move back to Charlotte to be here, be amongst family, friends, and keep growing and expanding.
That's what's up. Air horns for that. Since we got them now. Air horns for both of y'all. It's lit.
Dog got his pod voice on today.
Yeah, he came in with the pod voice.
Mental health and counseling.
She got her pod voice on too. If she called you on the phone, you'd be like, "Damn, I need to get my mental together. I need to get straight, man." On the other side of this line. But yeah, good to have y'all in the building, man. This is a first. So for the audience, this is a new, obviously, this is a whole new look. We in a new spot. We in a new spot, you know what I'm saying, right now. We got new toys. We got new people. So it's good that y'all here. We're glad to have y'all. This is the first episode that we had here, so y'all first for that. Also, our first mental health episode. Absolutely. So I don't know where this is going to go. If we end up in tears at the end of this, then we're just going to have some tissues in the back. Mac will just grab us some.
We're going to hold hands and kumbaya out of this, man.
Type shit. But no, it should be a good combo. I'm interested to hear y'all's thoughts on a lot of topics and questions. I mean, so to begin, I guess, with you, how did you get into, I know you said you started 2-3 years ago. How did you get into this space, the mental health, like you wanted to start making content about it, related to it? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I've always been pretty familiar with therapy. Shout out to my parents. They have just been a big proponent of take care of yourself.
Okay.
Even when they weren't taking care of themselves. So in that journey as a kid and then just going into adulthood, I've always had therapy top of mind. And then, so I got married and then I got divorced. And through that process, I noticed like, I wanted to understand like what happened. How did I even end up there? So through asking myself those kind of questions, talking to my therapist about it, and sharing that with my close friends and family, I just started getting more questions about, okay, so how did you gain the courage to go to therapy? How did you gain the courage to just explore these different topics?
I'm sorry, not to cut you off. You mean like close friends on Instagram? Because I see a lot of people doing that on Instagram. Like that's their therapy. They seem like a paragraph.
No.
If you crying on camera on Instagram, man, I don't know how I look at it, but
It'd be some paragraphs on these close friends, man. Don't do that. That's therapeutic.
Absolutely not. So
real close friends.
My tribe, my family, just my homegirls, and we just sort of bonded over figuring out life together. And so they encouraged me to sort of create content on Instagram. And so that's where I sort of got my start.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Y'all team.
What was your introduction into therapy, counseling? How'd you get into where you at now?
No, I got you. So to be honest, man, originally I wanted to be a surgeon. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to go into the medical field. And, being 100% transparent, going to college my first day, I realized, I don't think I want to do this.
Right. You get a reality check.
Yeah, I'm like, hold up, man.
Hey, shout out to Mac. We got a doctor in the building.
Absolutely.
Everybody pass that off this liquor. Got you.
No, I got you. Now, that doesn't mean I still don't want to be a doctor, because obviously that allowed me to start, really researching and learning more about the different, fields and the areas that's out there. And, I've always been interested in counseling. My dad, my pops, he's a counselor. My mentors, they're in this realm, and the advice and the things they taught to me about, when I didn't have a space, or I feel like I didn't have a space, they created that. So I recognized the value within that, So as I went to school, man, of course, I went to UC Charlotte, graduated with a bachelor's in psychology. I wanted to push further to see what else I could do with this. And I knew I like helping people. I come from a family of helping professionals, my mentors. I've seen it, how it had an effect on me. But, similar to what Bree said, it led me down the path of, I want to learn more about myself as well. I want to learn about, the experiences I've been through and how these things affected me, my relationships and the people around me. Why are things the way they are? But I want to be able to do that while it's my own personal journey, also a way for me to learn how I can help and give back and, provide and create that space for others.
That's what's up.
That's fire.
It's deep already.
Exactly. I think the best question to kind of start us off, and this is like an open dialogue, so I want both of you the guys to jump out as we converse. We'll give our uneducated opinions on this too.
For sure.
Is therapy necessary? And I know that's kind of a broad question, but it gives us a kind of wiggle room to go where we want to go with it. What would you guys say to that question if somebody walked up to you and asked it?
I got you. If somebody was to ask me that, I've said this before when I spoke in the past, that therapy actually isn't always necessary. I'm gonna be honest. Now, therapy can be beneficial for anybody who chooses to start up therapy. You can definitely find many things out of, gain many things out of it, whether it's new ways to cope, some self-discovery, maybe there's some professional development you want to learn, or just kind of gain from it. It's different things you can gain from therapy where you don't have to have any problems or issues going on in your life. Now, of course, a person who needs therapy is someone who can't carry, out day-to-day activities. Maybe they find themselves isolating themselves, staying in their rooms. Maybe they find themselves, really having high anxiety, feeling sad, can't talk to nobody. All these different symptoms that might present themselves that make it really difficult to carry out day-to-day activities. That's when you might want to, start diving into deeper, like, let me talk to somebody about this. Maybe there's relationship issues that, you need some guidance or, some better ways to navigate it. So therapy is definitely, necessary for people who are going through these issues and they need some assistance, navigating this, but it's not something that everyone needs. However, everyone can benefit from therapy.
Okay.
That's fire.
I absolutely agree. In my last round of therapy, I was actually discharged. She was like, you got it. Like, you can try this on your own.
I'm sorry, time out. You were discharged.
Yeah. So we had a treatment plan of like everything I wanted to accomplish. We accomplished everything that we had set forth. And then she was like, listen, like, you've got this figured out. You have the tools. try this on your own. If you feel like you need to come back, sure, great. But I feel like you have a good grasp on like what it takes to just consistently take care of yourself, to check in, to have a support system, to say, okay, I'm not okay today, and I need some extra like push or support. So I would agree that it's not necessary. If you are really good at processing things or just breaking things down and dissecting them for yourself, sure, great, that's awesome. But having someone to walk with you through that is also very helpful. So I would agree. It's definitely helpful, but not necessary.
And that's what I was going to ask. So is it sort of like therapy, sort of like training wheels at first to sort of get you, you know what I'm saying, to figure out where you're going? Is that how you would describe it? So I don't know. I've never done it. I don't know if Bril has. So our questions may seem uneducated. They may seem very, you know what I'm saying, beginner level. But I'm just asking this. So is that what you would consider as sort of like training wheels to get you going, and then once you figure it out, you continue it yourself?
Absolutely. I would say like most of the therapy sessions for me was my therapist asking me questions and steering the conversation. And then from there, once I got to the point where I was sort of, you know, leaning on her to just sort of like ask me questions and not prompt things, then it, you know, I knew that there was a bad week or whatever, but definitely training wheels.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, because it's this idea of discharge, and you said that you had accomplished everything that you guys set out to do. But I want to ask you about how you felt in that moment, because I can imagine when you start developing a trust for a therapist and you start coming consistently, let's say every week, and you're telling them your problems, they're helping you think through things, there can be a little bit of attachment or a bond that's developed. So to be discharged, did you feel like a sense of empowerment, like she believes in me, or was it maybe a sense of abandonment, like, oh, how you just gonna leave me? I kind of enjoyed this. How did you feel in that moment?
It was a combination of two things. So one, I felt accomplished for sure, because we had a very clear plan of what I wanted to and accomplish, and it was confidence. I really wanted to work on putting myself out there, trying new things, sort of thing. And then on the other hand, because she was so candid with me, she was so like, she was very much my homegirl. She'd be like, you want my therapist, you know, response, or do you want, you know, my personal response? It was like, oh, I kind of feel like I'm losing a friend a little bit. So it was a process of grieving too, of like, okay, well, yes, that part of my life is done, and I've done the work, but yes, you know, I'm not going to be able to interact with her on the weekly basis as I had been. Yeah.
I was going to add that therapy is something. It's not, you know, it's not meant to last forever. Now, people choose to continue with therapy, but you know, initially, and as a therapist, you know, a lot of my treatment plans typically last about 90 days. 90 days, about 3 months. And that's when you know, really start to see change, or you at least get to a point where you can handle things, you know, or you're self-sufficient, where you can do things on your own without the guidance of a therapist. Right. And I like the analogy of training wheels, because that's really what it is. You know, it's almost like riding a bike. You know, we're going to train you up. You know, you're going to start with training wheels. Right. We're going to help you out a little bit, take those wheels off. And like every now and then, of course, you're going to get that spurt where you can ride without the training wheels, and you might fall off. Right. But you just got to keep getting back up and going to the point, till you get to a point where you got it, like riding a bike. And I guess I can say I can describe the therapeutic process in that same way. Now, I think as it relates to discharging, because it's almost like a breakup when you,
that's what
you know, it can feel like a breakup.
Right.
The difference is sometimes a breakup can just come like this, like, oh, I didn't expect that. Whereas a healthy therapeutic relationship, a therapist will prep you for that end date. Like, in other words, in 2 weeks, you know, I'm gonna let you know that, you know, we're coming to the end.
It's not just like
hard
cut off.
She prepped me for sure.
Right.
She was like, we're getting ready to come up on the end here, so let's do you know, these things to transition out.
So how do you find the right therapist or the right client? How do you know the right client fits you?
As both. How do you find the right therapist, or how did y'all find the right therapist, and then how do you find the right clients as well?
I got you. I mean, when it comes to finding the right therapist, and I know Bril could probably talk a little bit more on this as well, it comes down to really recognizing your need, like what it is that you're going through, and looking for a therapist. You got to do the search first, of course.
Right. Discovery phase.
Exactly. You got to see who actually meets that criteria for what it is that you're going through, whether it's relationship issues, whether you're having anxiety, work stress, family issues, trauma, some things that you haven't dealt with from your past. You want to first like identify what it is that you need to address and find what therapist has the specialty or expertise within that area. Right. You know, so that's probably one of the first things. Like, okay, this person can help me with this. Boom, I check that off.
So there's different type of therapists.
It's
depending on different things.
It is. Like some, of course, they have specialties in just different areas. Marriage and family counseling, school, college, teens, youth, child, so on and so forth. And of course, then getting more specific with different diagnoses. But on top of that, also your preference. You know, who do you prefer to talk to? Do you prefer to talk to somebody that look like you? Do you want to talk to someone that's a male, a female, someone that's older? You know, so I mean, I think these are things that matter because you know, once you recognize that they specialize within that whatever it is that you're looking for or that need, then you want to go to that preference like, okay, I can vibe with this person. Like this is exactly this meets kind of what I'm looking for, and then you kind of just take a chance from there. Of course, you want to check for the credentials, the schooling, make sure their license are good, so on and so forth. I mean, obviously, you want to make sure that it fits your budget. You know, they take insurance, things like that, because that stuff can add up.
Y'all be taxing. That's what you're saying.
I mean, you know,
do a little taxing.
If it's worth it, man. If it's worth it, I feel like. Yeah. Especially if like I think I know some therapists that are kind of work with professional athletes privately and stuff. You got a big game. You got the Super Bowl tomorrow, and you having that kind of Ben Simmons-esque mental going on. I need somebody. I don't care what the tab is.
Right.
Help me, nigga.
Right. That makes sense.
Help me. So,
now I was gonna ask this. Let me lean back because now we done got into this
into
episode
it,
now.
right?
Yeah, we good.
Okay.
So this, I mean, it might be early for this question, but this is what I always think about with therapists, right? So y'all do a lot of. You are a therapist as well, right? Or you just do the kind. You sort of are.
No, I'm not.
You're not at all.
No, he's a therapist.
You're the therapist. What would you call yourself then? If you were to put a title over
the healing hottie.
The healing hottie.
The healing
But you healing people. So essentially both of y'all are doing the same thing. But my question is this, while you think on that. Y'all do a lot of pouring into other people, right? Y'all take a lot of questions. Y'all talk all day and take a lot of stress and anger and post-traumatic stress and childhood stuff, relationship. How do y'all feed yourselves? Who's pouring back into y'all's cup? How do the therapists have therapists? You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that work? Because I mean, it's just like, so my girl do nails, right? So everybody go to her. It's almost like the barbershop. We go in the barbershop, you know, you talking to your barber all day. You talking about problems. You might talk about something that happened at work. They always taking in a bunch of stuff. She'll come home and be like, man, I just had a day. Like, everybody want to release their problems. Like, we were crying, doing nails, whatever. But for y'all, I know we crying, doing nails. But for y'all, like, y'all do that for a job every single day. Like, I be laughing at Power. They fight crime every day. Snowfall, they go out and sell drugs every day.
They gonna need $1 million by Tuesday.
They gotta, Jesus Christ. They do nothing. They don't eat. They don't go to the mall. They don't do nothing. It's just product. I got to get this product off, man. But nonetheless, that's what y'all do every single day. How do y'all balance it with y'all's real lives, friendships, all of that stuff, like taking everybody's problems and listening and healing and working with people? How does that flow into your normal day?
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'll answer that and say, you know, prioritizing self-care, you know, prioritizing your needs as well. Like, I'm a therapist, yes, but, you know, I take this hat off and I'm a human. I'm a human still as a therapist. But I'm human just like everybody else. And I go through the same things just like everyone in this room. You know, so it's a matter of being able to still prioritize yourself, prioritize self-care, prioritize your needs. Right. And then, of course, man, you know, I've done this, you know, for so long, man. I would say, man, the thing that can be taxed is just probably just sitting there and listening the whole time. It's not the actual things that's going on, because I developed the skill to be able to not allow that to really affect me in that way, or start taking on that type of energy. Right. But, you know, it's a matter of just getting exhausted from working all day, like anybody else who might work all day. Right. So I might need let me take a break. Let me go for a walk, midday walk. Let me do a stretch. Let me do a workout. You know, let me go make some music. Let me go call my friends. And also, as a therapist, therapists do have therapists, by the way. You know, like I said, therapists, that doesn't mean that we don't go find somebody to talk to. We got our own stuff going on. Right. We have our therapists, we have our mentors, we have, you know, people that peer supervision, you know, people we can talk to who are in this field about different cases. Now, of course, confidentiality is a thing that we're not disclosing names or nothing, but when it comes down to being able to process different situations and different sessions and stuff with people who understand what's going on, you know, we have that network, you know, and it's really important to develop that network of support. And of course, you know, being able to go to those folks.
Having a tribe, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with you posting a lot of content, even though you're not a therapist, I'm pretty sure people hit you up and ask, like, how did you get through this? So what would be your answer to that question, like, as far as feeding yourself or you know, getting your own self back together? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I would categorize myself as an advocate first and foremost.
Advocate for therapy.
before I advocate for anybody else, I have to advocate for myself.
Amen.
So I've learned the phrase of like, listen, I don't have the capacity. I don't have
Sometimes
it
you
today.
gotta say no.
I don't boundaries.
Sometimes you gotta
I
say
don't
no.
have it today.
That's a key word.
And you know, I have a
like
close
that.
friend who's going through a breakup, and at certain points, I was like, yeah, girl, you know, I just need a minute.
Right.
I can't help you today. But you know, here's some resources. Here's some things to do. Talk to your therapist, girl, because I don't got it.
God.
But
You just told it straight up, yeah.
And because we have that relationship, and I'm honest with people of like when I don't have the capacity to support them through something, and I expect the same from them. If I'm venting to them and they're just like, listen, I have too much going on, I can't help you through it, it's no hard feelings because I've learned how to have those boundaries myself.
Okay.
So let's get into the skinny of it, as my co-host would
The
say.
skinny.
And it's great that all of us come here today because we definitely want to get a professional opinion, an educated and experienced opinion, and two completely uneducated opinions, and me and my dog.
Us too.
So is the term gaslighting? I know that's something that we've heard on Twitter, Instagram, social media. You guys understanding therapy, understanding mental health, understanding emotional intelligence. Is the word gaslighting overused and abused? Or is it appropriately termed, used in most cases? What do you feel about it? What actually is gaslighting? Do we all have the same definition? So let's just, I know that's like 5 questions in
Yes.
one, but let's
That's
just
right.
dive into that whole subject.
Gaslighting.
Got it.
I'm gonna let you take gaslighting.
Got it. So gaslighting is it's definitely overused, and I'm saying this because you know, first off, man, it's, you know, when someone is really manipulating someone or a situation to cause you to feel or question yourself.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong, people do this. This happens a lot.
Yes.
But it's also a lot of times misinterpreted, you know, where, you know, maybe you just question yourself and that just gave validation that you question yourself versus that person being someone who's gaslighting you, you know. But also at the same time, when it's being overused the way it is, it minimizes the folks who are actually being gaslit. You know, so I think that's the real issue. So, you know, again, man, gaslighting is when someone is, like I said, manipulating the environment, probably telling lies or, you know, construing or making something up where it causes you to question yourself or feel some type of way.
Changing the narrative, basically.
Changing the narrative.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's a good way to put it. But to be honest, man, I think it, like I said, it is overused.
Okay.
It's one of them just hot phrases that
Hot
everybody like to
phrases.
say.
Man, how you feel, Helen Hottie?
I mean, I would say that gaslighting is overused, and it's pretty synonymous with like feminism or Black Lives Matter. Like we've completely taken away the meaning from it. We've just been like, yeah, that's gaslighting. No, and until you've actually experienced gaslighting, like don't be so quick to throw that around. But it definitely does happen, and I don't think that enough people, because it's so overused, that enough people are aware of how damaging it can be.
That's facts. Like I personally, I definitely agree with both of you guys, especially since I would consider you guys more educated than me. So
These are our therapists for today. Y'all therapy. We're gonna switch it. Y'all don't ask me no questions.
So I really feel like gaslighting and being gaslit, it's like to say somebody is doing that, that's like the ultimate trump card. You know what I mean? Like if I say that you're gaslighting me, there's almost no intelligent response. Like, what can you say to that? It's like a witch hunt. Like, I'm not sure if you guys remember, like from school, the Salem witch trials, where basically if someone was to accuse somebody of a witch, the only real way we would know if they were a witch or not was to try to drown them. So if you're not a witch, you would die, and if you're a witch, you would live, obviously. But then you're a witch, so we have a bigger problem. So you just walking around accusing people, and there's no means to an end. There's no way we can actually see this through or prove this to be true or not true. So if you're holding me accountable for something, or if you're saying something I don't like, or just talking to me a certain way, I can say that you're gaslighting me. And then almost like, what do you say to that? Or, you know, let's say you're having a conversation, you're trying to hold somebody accountable.
Right.
And they say, you're gaslighting me. What comes after that?
The definition, probably. The real definition. Like, no, this is gaslighting. This is what I'm doing.
You're gaslighting me by using the definition gaslighting and making me define it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think for one, people do need to start reading the definition, the accurate definition, not what you just hear someone say on social media. Actually go to the internet, the verified source, and look it up. But honestly, man, when it comes to like, you know, anytime you have feelings or something that you feel something, you know, it's so easy. And we're talking about gaslighting right now. It's so easy to say, you know, you're gaslighting me. You know, you're doing this versus saying, I feel this. I feel like, you know, you're not telling me the truth, or I feel that, You know, I feel uncomfortable about what you just said. You know, so using I statements and really putting it back on how you feel versus what a person is doing, because now you're putting yourself in a battle, and it's not even about really what the situation is. Now you're talking about gaslighting versus what really is bothering
The real
you.
situation.
Exactly. You know,
That's how you end up on those tangents. You arguing about something that's completely different.
I hate that. Boy.
Wow. Have you ever been gaslit, Sterl?
I don't know. The last part connected more or less, because sometimes you get into a disgruntle and you get to exchanging words. Then you arguing about something that's totally different from what we was originally talking about. And I'm a man of logic. I like to stay on the point. I don't like to use I feel like. Don't do the I feel like. This is what's going on, and this is how we're gonna handle this. We're not gonna get off on a tangent. So I have been, but I like to steer it back. I like to steer it back to what we was originally talking about.
I'm a tangent type of guy. We gonna take it left.
My tangent. If I get on the tangent, we're gonna go around, and eventually we'll make it back to what I was talking about. Because I'm just long winded as a person. Hence why we podcast.
Okay.
But I'll tell a story and I'll make an analogy, then I make another analogy to that one.
Shit.
Then I'm gonna just bring it all the way full circle. So
you causing a tangent.
I probably am.
You're the gaslighter. You're probably the gaslighter.
I'm gaslighting.
Hey,
exactly.
Miss Bree, have you feel like you ever been gaslit? Actually, have you ever gaslit somebody? Intentionally, let's be honest here, open and honest.
Yes.
Ooh,
I
okay.
have. And it wasn't, I didn't have an emotional connection with that person, and they had an emotional connection with me, and so I was,
That's gonna start a problem. Huh?
They were addicted to the healing, man. The healing.
This was prior to healing Heidi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's
for sure.
Okay.
And then I've been gaslit, and so once I experienced the other end of it, I was like, no, I don't like that. And so sometimes even as the gaslighter or someone who is projecting or putting their problems onto other people, it takes like actually going through that yourself before you actually like address it and start to resolve the problems.
Well, it's the epicenter, baby, and you know what it is. Girls like Sterling, King Bril done it again. Now who they got up on the pot?
You already know the vibes, baby. Here we go.
The epicenter, baby, and you know what it is. Girls like Sterling, King Bril
Done it again.
Now who they got up on the pot? Gotta watch and see.
Who the fuck is DJ Sterl?
Right. That's what we was vibing to. It's a vibe. You already know the vibes, man. We back.
Yeah. We need a TV show with that. That's the intro, boy.
I made that this morning. We got
a 90s
like
TV
that.
show.
You feel me?
Hell yeah.
That's what it is. We back. Time in.
Hell yeah, we back, man. And we're sitting here with some of my favorite therapists who have helped us so much understand some terms like gaslighting, understand, the how to, the when, the what, the who of therapy, and much more, man. So, Sterl, did you have a question that you said you wanted to get off, man? Now that we got these lovely people here.
But before that, tell us what month this is. How are we so timely? How do we know this? What month is it, y'all?
This is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Clap it up for that. Mental Health Awareness Month.
Because we had the epicenter.
You know what I'm saying? Because we knew that already.
Exactly.
That's why we called y'all at the top of May. Like, we already knew that. We knew that.
You want a podcast that cares about your mental health.
You know what I'm saying? So we know we got a little deep before, and it was whatever. But I want to know this. Before y'all were these healed individuals. Who were y'all before this? How would you describe yourself before your mental health journey, before all of these books and healing hotties and all of this stuff? Who were y'all before that? Who were y'all before?
Exactly. Tell us about when you poked the air out of the tire. That's what we want. Who before the healing?
When you was toxic. When you know what I'm saying? Who were you before you got into your journey?
When you
In a few words.
Yeah.
Ladies first.
Okay. So I would say I grew up pretty fast. I had a situation where I had to like parent my parent a little bit, and my parents went through a divorce, and it was kind of messy. And so, in that, my parents really kind of expected me to grow up. So once I got through their divorce, I was in the streets. I was acting up. I was outside. I had no regard for other people's feelings because I didn't have any regard for my own. And so I was just sort of floating through life. And then I ended up moving to the DMV for about 6 years or 6 or 7 years. And there is where I met my ex. and we got married, and in that process.
How old were you, if you don't mind, when you got married?
I was 23. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was
early bird.
Yeah, I wasn't too young, but I was.
That's really not early, man.
Yeah,
we just in a new. When you add college into the mix, like that makes it early. I feel like people that don't go to college. 23 ain't really.
Yeah, you an adult.
Yeah, you an adult, man. Yeah.
True shit. Not to cut you off.
No. You good. So I was 23, got married. I had really kind of reinvented myself as being like quiet, not drawing a lot of attention to myself, because I was questioning everything of like, what is marriage? What am I supposed to do? What kind of wife am I supposed to be? And through that process, like I completely lost any semblance of like myself, my subconscious, like anything. I was just kind of like, again, floating. And so through that relationship, I really got in touch with who I am and who I wanted to be and who I didn't want to be anymore. Mm-hmm. And especially with therapy, that helped a lot to define that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who were you, dog, before therapy turned you into the best-selling author? Put your book up too, bro. Because we can see it in your or put it like when you're not talking, put it up against that thing so they can see it.
I don't know if you can see it right here.
You got to get the
right
author
there.
posed.
Right there.
There
Perfect.
that
Perfect. Now we vibing.
Who was I before therapy, man? who I wasn't. Man, I did a lot of.
Who wasn't I?
Who wasn't I? Man, I can honestly say, man, before really embarking on my own journey of becoming a therapist. Like I said, that was a healing journey in itself for me, and a lot of self-discovery. And don't get me wrong, it was a lot of self-discovery I've experienced throughout my life. But one thing I can definitely say is before really embarking on this journey, emotional intelligence probably wasn't the thing that I was high on. I got to be honest here, man.
Yeah, I want you to be like all the way 100. Like
it was exactly.
Don't use your therapist's words. Who was you before?
I can't say
to the best of your ability. Tell us.
Of course, man. I can say that I wasn't a person who was always in tune with my feelings or thinking about, really reevaluating or, reflecting on how I feel, reflecting on the things that I need, reflecting on the things that's going on around me and what's good for me and what's not good for me. Right. Communication probably wasn't the best thing. I look at my relationships and, I can definitely look at the parts I've played with and why some of these relationships failed or didn't end on the best note, I'll say. So, before this journey, man, I can definitely say, man, I was into myself, man. I was definitely into myself. Not that
brings us to
I was into myself.
Before we get into that, man, give us a toxic adventure, an example of your previous self. Well, you're not so proud of it, but it would help. It would help our viewers who may not be as knowledgeable and as experienced in their mental health and reflection, as you might say. Something that they can say, you know what? I cut the wires out of his battery in his car yesterday too. I understand that. It's something that they can understand. Well, I guess I heard all the time. You know what I'm saying? Something that can make it real for the audience, man.
If y'all have any examples. What's my button? Hold on. No, not that one.
You cannot give me any of
Nope. There we go. The crickets.
The crickets.
Well, we're going to a dream world now. We all were back being who you were before, and you can tell us a story of a toxic time.
Hey, yo, it's for all our listeners. Obviously, you hear this, man. This man Sterl is going crazy with this.
Yeah, we got the soundboard, so I'm vibing a bit. We figuring out the buttons.
We got to get so the live audience can hear. Like,
I know, yeah. I'm missing what's going on up here. Y'all got anything?
All right, so maybe you guys in a previous life, you got something?
I mean, no, go ahead.
No, I'll bail you out this time, man. So maybe in a previous life, you guys may have been a long, long time ago, may have had some narcissistic tendencies. You know what I mean? You might have been accused somebody as being a narcissist, in which you might have been gaslighting them too. But in that, I want to say the same thing as, what I said about gaslighting earlier. Do you feel like the term narcissist is overused and abused? And what is narcissism? So we can all have like some type of working definition, even if it's not the actual Webster. What is it to you, and how do you recognize it? Have you ever dealt with one? The whole nine.
Got you. I can tell you what a narcissist is, and to answer the first question.
Okay.
Again, another overused term where it's not being used accurate. It really takes a person being diagnosed with this personality disorder, by the way, of being a narcissist. But really what it is having an inflated sense of self-importance and a deep need for admiration and attention. A lot of times it's thrown out there that a person is a narcissist because, for example, you feel like your feelings aren't being considered. They might not be communicating with you. You feel like you're being brushed off, and you feel like they're just all the way into themselves. Or they might just have, they might really be, again, how can I describe it? Like really into themselves. I think another word I could say.
Like arrogant, almost
arrogant.
like super arrogant.
Yeah, like a person can, be really, really arrogant.
Or vain.
Okay. And that doesn't mean they're a narcissist. That's just another part of who they are. And a lot of times that could be from their own traumas, for their own issues that they haven't worked through or they're avoiding, so it's coming out as some of these narcissistic tendencies. Again, they're not a narcissist, but they might show some of these signs of, really putting themselves at, it seems like they really important, like you said, vain. And of course, yeah, I think that's how I would describe it. But yes, it's definitely overused, man, where, it should be explored a little bit more. And sometimes I can also say that it may even be used in a form of deflection where a person might not be holding themselves accountable for what's going on in the situation. I can save that for, enough, until. So
what you're saying is, then short, the accuser might be the narcissist.
I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't say the accuser is a narcissist. It goes just back to just accepting accountability.
Okay.
What would you say? You dealt with a narcissist before, or?
Yeah. The first time I heard the term was in therapy, and I was describing someone in my life of what was happening. And she was like, "Oh, they're a narcissist," and that's when I was like, "What does that even mean?" And so, in understanding of how they really don't have that element of empathy, they don't really consider other people's experiences in that, is where I was like, "Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense." And so, as I started to advocate for myself in different relationships and connections, is where I was like, okay, well, I need you to consider me in this. And really focusing on the I statements with a narcissist, it really helps just kind of give you that boost of confidence. But again, that I agree, it has to be something that's diagnosed formally.
One thing I've noticed, this is another sidebar topic. So I'll be watching a lot of Law and Order, a lot of Criminal Minds. Shout out Law and Order. Y'all know his dad is on Law and Order.
Thanks.
Oh,
Shout out Pops. It's his birthday. Well, shout out your Pops, man.
It is his birthday, man. Shout out to my Pops, man.
Shout out Pops.
Shakur, man. It was a regular in Law and Order, man. For the 10,000 to 485th episode.
And not like the hot dog man in the back. Like his dad is like the cop. And like the
precinct commander.
In majority of the episodes. I was surprised to see it. It's dope though. Shout out Pops. But nonetheless, in all these shows, right?
Shout out Lil Tyler too, man. Law and Order. Lil Tyler,
that made the song
Lil Ruby Road.
Right.
No, I miss, man.
But I watch a lot of these shows, right? And all of the killers, all of the murderers usually have some, Criminal Minds especially, all of the problems start in childhood. Like they always go back to something that happened in their childhood. Either they were, we being serious, they were raped, molested, they were abused or something. And it always reflects back when they become an adult. Is that because they don't handle it right or they don't know how to handle it, or it's just like, let's just speak on that, because I've just noticed that when I watch all these crime shows, every criminal, Criminal Minds is more or less about profiling, and they'll profile a killer, and they'll go all the way from the beginning and tell you what he wears, what he does, what he used to do, and it always relates back to who they were as a child. So speak on that, how the effects on childhood later on can sprout a person that may need therapy or not know that they need therapy. Just speak on that, like childhood and therapy, how they intertwine.
Right. I mean, for one, that's like one of the first things we do as a therapist. We dive back into your background, your family history, your history, your childhood, because as you mentioned, as the show kind of shows, a lot of issues kind of start there, and what happens is a lot of things from childhood becomes unaddressed, becomes swept under the rug, not talked about.
Right.
And these issues are these things that swept under the rug are not talked about, begins to manifest in different thoughts and behaviors that you tend to carry out throughout the rest of your life.
Right.
So I think childhood, addressing these things early, obviously, is the best way to kind of handle and really project or see the trajectory of how this person might turn out if you're able to kind of intervene early. But also if it's unaddressed, these are some of the things that can happen if this person never really addresses or continue to carry out life, in that negative, I guess you can say, their worldview that they have from that incident or from their childhood.
Or that's just their truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe that in the world, everybody has their own truth based off of where they came up and how, you view world as this way, I view it as this way. That's your truth versus my truth. And that speaks to that. I guess like figuring it out and not letting it fester.
Yeah.
Before, like you said, intervening before it does become outward, you know what I'm saying, expression of how you live life or how you view life.
Right.
Speaks to that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's always been where I started after the past relationship was like, where in my childhood did this kind of fester and begin and made this okay? And because I had the understanding that things can be deep seated in your childhood and just kind of carry on with you throughout life, it really kind of helped me get my head around who I was and who I became, who I was. And it even helped in conversations. Like I was having a conversation with my dad, and he was having a hard time understanding why he should apologize for something. And we were just, as his kids, we're very honest with him, very open with him. And he was like, well, my mom never apologized. And we were like, what a difference it could have made if she did. And it really kind of made him sit back of like, man, like if she had apologized for some of the things, I could have been a different person. And so being able to not only connect that to yourself, but just connect that with other people can help you be more understanding.
Yeah. I just want to add though, like, what I'm saying, that when we talk about like, we look back at your childhood, that's like where the foundation of your identity begins, how you start to really define yourself. So those things that kind of happen then, again, as you define yourself, and we're all, of course, in this journey of self-discovery, learning more about ourselves as we continue to experience. But, from childhood, that's where it kind of starts. That's where you get that foundation. And if you're missing some pieces, like, you don't have a healthy version of love being presented to you, or a model of love, family model. You don't get these examples. You might have those voids there. You probably have a missing parent. Well, I will say that can definitely influence what a person, how their adulthood might look like. Right. It doesn't 100% affect it, because a person can intervene themselves and realize I need to do something about this early on. But I just want to kind of say, as it relates to your narrative, as it relates to your identity, a lot of this does start with your childhood.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. And you guys were talking. I think that's important. That's like the main thing. A lot of this stuff starts, your perspective, your identity starts in childhood. But let's say we fast forward and now we're grown. We're 20 years old, 30 years old. Hopefully we're not on Criminal Minds or however Law and Order episode after us. But a lot of us aren't necessarily that far along the spectrum. We're kind of normal working class citizens, but we have traumas that date back to our childhood. So outside of therapy, which we talked about, what are some of the healing mechanisms that you guys have or might frequent, or that you've seen work really good for somebody?
Journaling.
Okay.
Putting everything down on paper and being able to take some time to like really like reflect and just really see what your thoughts are.
So is that like journaling like your day to day, or journaling about your past, or just
it depends. I tend to journal quite a bit whenever there's a stressful moment, and I'm like, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? And what can I do about it? And those are the 3 prompts that I start with.
Okay.
Can you say that one more time? Run that back.
Yeah. So what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? And what can I do about it? Okay. And being able to see that on paper makes me feel more like a human to myself. It makes me feel like, okay, you're making sense. This all kinds of makes sense of how you got there and why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And then if there's nothing that I can do about it, it helps me feel a sense of like, I know where I can take my next steps of like, okay, I just need to push. I need to push forward and enjoy the rest of my day or the rest of my week or whatever. But being able to just dissect all of that and review is really helpful.
So if I just go to the studio and just drop like a 3-minute freestyle, just 40 bars, dissing my ex, that's like therapy. That's therapy. I get that off, drop the track, we make some money off it. That's therapy, right?
I mean, if you walk away feeling better, it's not. Yeah. Let me say this. Let me clarify this. No, it's not therapy.
It's not therapy?
No, it's absolutely not therapy. Therapy is a process where you actually, work with a professional, someone who's skilled, has the background in providing that type of help to help you work through that problem. Now, that's therapeutic.
Therapeutic.
Yeah.
The word.
So that's important.
Words are important.
Let's get.
What do you do for, like, she does journaling? What you got that you? Yeah. You think you spoke about it earlier? Doing music, going to the studio, or what's your form of therapeutic release or therapy?
Yeah, ways to cope. With what's going on around me. Right. Journaling is definitely something I use, and I even developed it.
Yeah. Speaking of journaling.
Let me do
speaking
it.
of journaling.
Talk your shit.
Yes. Let me go ahead and do this now. Speaking of journaling, like I do journal. I try to journal every single day, but journaling has really just turn my I want to say turn my life around, man, but really help me start addressing things that I really need to address, improve my relationships, improve my health, improve my business. Again, we're talking about, I discuss emotional intelligence, help me become a lot more emotional intelligent as it relates to just myself and what's going on around me, relationships, and how I deal with just the world. But my journal here, the soundtrack journal, make your life a priority. There's a lot of things we tend to neglect within our life that's important. We don't address all our needs. This is a journal that really helps you start addressing your needs and really start to prioritize those things. Put them in your schedule. Create the routines where you can start being very intentional about the things that are important to you, whether it's family, whether it's business, whether it's mindfulness, personal development, whatever that thing is. Right. This journal right here can really help you start prioritizing it. Help you with your time management. Help you decrease stress, anxiety.
Let me see that book.
Help you get organized.
The soundtrack journal.
Man.
Make your life a priority.
Yeah.
Good quality.
Why'd you choose that title?
Because again, it goes again, like a lot of times we neglect our needs. We neglect those things that are important to us. We can find ourselves, and I'm not speaking, we talk about people pleasers. We talk about people who just do a lot for others, but they don't do enough or do a lot for themselves. Right. Especially as a person who's in this field of as a helping professional, I got to be able to do what I need to do for myself so I can be the best for others. So ultimately, even us, we gotta prioritize ourselves so we can be best at what we do for the people that we serve.
Right.
So making your life priority, man, I think that's really important. We only get one.
I mean, the soundtrack part is that because of your music background? Did you choose soundtrack because of that?
Yeah.
But I was thinking another reason why, because all of us have 2016 was a great year for a lot of us in here. You can remember something. You'll hear a song and you be like, man, I remember what I was doing. It was the soundtrack to my life, in 2016, or 2017, whatever year it is. So the soundtrack. I didn't know if that had any correlation to it, because the soundtrack can almost put you back, not in a bad way, put you in, take your memory, take you on a trip back to where you was when you first heard that song, whatever you was going through during that too.
It does. Now you're exactly right, man.
Okay.
That's
making sure I'm on point. You feel me?
It's a double entendre, man. As you can see, soundtrack, man. Of course, music can definitely bring back memories or take you back to the past. But also when you think of soundtrack, having a soundtrack to life, like your life is sound, your life is calm, your life is at peace. So that's the double entendre. And of course, me being a music producer, that just it just all works out.
You got some smart individuals in here today.
I was looking at the book, so the soundtrack journal, man, and one word you said a lot right then was priorities. And looking through the book, I see priorities quite a few times. So can you speak to priorities and being busy as opposed to being productive?
Right. I mean, being busy, you can be busy just doing stuff and not get anywhere. But when you prioritize and be intentional about what you're doing, if you have a goal, if you have, exactly, you have that vision, you're working, you have these small steps that you're able to work towards. So you're able to prioritize what's important to help you get there. Okay. So I think that's what's important. Priority is you see it listed throughout the journal because, I think that's something that you should wake up and, really think about every single day is, what are the three things that I need to tackle on today? Or what are the three things I need to do so I can feel accomplished? So I can feel like I've actually made the steps to what this overall goal I have or what that vision is.
Facts. Did you have something to add, Bree?
Yeah, for sure. I would say that being busy, I think of as a distraction. You're just trying to just move around,
just
not
fill your
really
day up with stuff.
Just not think about anything. And which can be helpful as a decompression method of when you've gotten too stressed, okay, I just need to distract myself. But it can be harmful whenever you need something you really need to process and really dissect of what's going on and how that's affecting you. And I've had moments in my life, even now, where I'm just okay, I'm just trying to stay busy, keep moving, trying to keep doing things and not really pay attention to what's going on. And so using journaling or meditation or just moments where I'm just sitting still, it can be very helpful to check in and see what I need.
Yep.
I think a term that I heard, I don't know what book I was reading, but the author referred to this term called creative avoidance. And the creative avoidance is basically where you get busy, you do something, and you make up all of these fake priorities and just do these things that you tell yourself are important. But they're really just a way of you creatively avoiding the one thing that you
need to do.
That or the one or two things
procrastination.
That kind of makes your life, that kind of would make the, pendulum in your life swing.
Right.
So can you guys speak to that? Have you ever been in a well, I don't know if you've said that, but what are the things that are priority in your life, and have you ever had a time where you had to kind of distract yourself and you had to kind of bring yourself out of it and say, okay, no, let me deal with this?
I I have many times. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, and throwing out.
Mine was laundry today. I avoided doing laundry. I saw the clothes there. I said, let me go walk the dog real quick. I'll come back and we'll hit that one. I get
the dog get an extra 3 minutes outside.
Yeah, man. You know,
he needs this.
He need
man.
to go.
He
out.
needs this.
She
Man.
gotta go out. She gotta go out. Hey, go here. I'm just joking.
Nah, I mean, not many times. Man, I'm just thinking about whether it's been school, you know, in college, of course, avoiding work, finding every other thing to do but the work I need to be doing.
Facts.
And then, of course, man, you know, I think a real one that many of us could relate to is probably avoiding tough conversations. You know, especially those people that we find important in our life. You know, whether that's a partner or whether that's a parent, you know, or a kid. You know, if anybody is a parent out there who's watching. You know, I think avoiding those tough conversations, man, is something that, you know, definitely festers. You know, we might find ourselves doing everything. We might do everything with this person, but we ain't talk about that thing we need to talk about with them. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Jeez. I want to ask Miss Healing Hottie. We good, Paint? We good? I want to ask Miss Healing Hottie this, man, because obviously you're a lot more experienced in terms of like commitment and relationships than I am and we are and whatnot. So I wanted to ask you, like, in terms of conversation as opposed to a confrontation and maybe avoiding certain conversations and having those hard conversations, you know, can you give us something that you might use to help yourself refocus and, okay, say, hey, I need to go ahead and get this done, or I need to sit down and reflect and stop distracting myself?
Yeah. I often find a point of like when you're trying to stay busy.
Okay.
And you kind of find yourself like pacing and going in circles. You haven't really accomplished anything. You're just kind of like, you touched the laundry, but then you went to do the dishes and then neither one of them are done. And so
a bigger problem now.
Right.
You got a camera in my house? How you doing?
Now we got a bigger problem.
And so when I notice myself or somebody else notices me and they see me like, girl, you said you was doing the laundry. You have not done anything. Is when I'm like, okay, what's going on? And even in a past relationship or as I've been dating and I've had to have tough conversations, it was really difficult for me to be honest with them because I didn't want to hurt their feelings and I didn't want to have an argument. And so I wrote down immediately what I was thinking. Like everything I wanted to say to them, get that all out. Because even if I don't get that all out in the conversation, at least I'm going to have it on paper of like, okay, I've processed through it. And then as I have that conversation and of course things get heated or misinterpreted, I can refer back to that list to say, okay, no, this is what I mean. And this is what I'm talking about. And here are the examples and kind of thing. But me understanding that I need to process it first before I bring it to them is the most important thing.
I got a question. What's your sign? I know that we don't get into that. What is your sign?
Taurus.
You just had a birthday.
Taurus gang.
Shout out, happy belated. Thank you. It's coming up, right?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago.
My bad.
Oh God, mac and cheese. Know our heart. Understand our hearts.
Aquarius gang in the building. If any Aquarius in here.
Libra gang.
Aquarius?
Man,
okay. February
check
what?
This out. Libra gang.
Okay. J. Cole. You got J. Cole birthday.
Cats in the building.
That's what's up.
So what I was gonna say was, I think I seen this thing on TikTok and it said Capricorns and Tauruses, they write down in their notes like the whole argument, like it was like a boyfriend and he went through his girlfriend's phone and found like notes for the next argument and it was like detailed, bullet point, and I was like, yo, is that something that's
I wouldn't want to argue with the Hen and Hottie.
Exactly.
She gonna have a list and
like,
examples and bullet points.
Yeah, what, 8-page paper, 12 MLA format. This is what's wrong.
This is what's really
going on. And you just gotta read it and just
But that's the other thing too. If I'm jumping into the conversation to be like, okay, this is what you did and this is the problem, blah, 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 and put it all on you versus trying to understand, I'm not ready to have the conversation.
Ooh,
like I need to sit
that.
back for a minute.
That's real.
Because I have to check myself before I check them.
Ooh.
And a lot of people are not willing to do that.
Accountability, like you talked about earlier.
Right.
I find myself, I do that a lot. Like if I do get into a heated discussion, I get quiet for a little bit. And I don't know if that's good or not, but I get quiet and I process in my head like, do I need to say this? Because my mind be going all over the place, and I be ready to shoot shit. You know what I'm saying? So I just process and say, is this worth saying? What would this, if I say this, what's going to happen then?
Do you communicate afterwards? Like, I was just processing, like,
I just don't get quiet and just like go off. I was like, all right, just give me something thinking. Yeah. I think I've gotten to a point of emotional check, because I used to just shoot off the hip, like, and I realized that wasn't getting me anywhere. So now I take a moment, I think about it, if it's worth saying, what this statement may bring up, and then I'll try to go from there, just step by step it, you know. But in a heated argument, it's sort of hard to do that. You know what I'm saying? If you gotta be ready to go.
You know something I had to stop doing? I call myself trying to be a listener, right? And I'd be like, no, I'm gonna sit down. Just whoever I'm talking to, if there's an argument, hard conversation, I just let you come on, dump everything, and boom, yeah. And I'm like, all right, you finished. I'm gonna need you to shut up. When I go, I need to get everything out, and I just kind of make it, and I just try to go.
I think that's like listening to respond.
In
arguments, just listen, and they be listening to you, but they just thinking in their head.
It's like, oh,
what I'm gonna say next.
Your ass
you know
once instead
of actually listening,
see that fucked up.
Instead of actually listening and processing what you're saying, some people just listen and they just be thinking of the next thing they gonna say. I'm gonna let you get your shit out in their head. They just going, 10,000 miles an hour, just so they can get their shit off on the next response or whatever it is.
So how would you guys, if you wanted to, you pause, let's say you're talking to a best friend, you guys are having an argument, maybe you're talking to a significant other, maybe you're talking to a family member, and those all have a gravity and a weight of all their own, but how do you stop yourself and check yourself right before you kind of emotionally vomit all over this person? Like, when you check yourself, what are you asking yourself? Okay, what did I go wrong here? Is that the right answer? Okay, because at what point are you second guessing your own feelings? Because I know earlier you referenced not talking about pointing the finger, saying what you guys did, but saying this is how I feel.
I statement.
Yeah.
I learned that today.
Yeah, that's something I learned. So, what other questions should we ask ourselves to kind of see if we're tripping, or to check ourselves or hold ourselves accountable before we come to this moment of conversation, confrontation, things like that?
I think, it's really what you just said is taking that pause moment. I mean, I think allowing yourself to just pause, and anytime you don't have it all together is you should do that. Hold up, give yourself the moment, and even ask for the moment if you can, if that's possible, to take that pause moment. But once you take that pause moment, evaluate how you feel. Check in with yourself. Like, how am I feeling? How am I really feeling right now, yo? Am I heated? Because if I am, I don't need to say nothing right now. Maybe I need to go write something, chill, go write what I need to say down, so I can have
soundtrack journal.
Write it down. Write it in the soundtrack journal.
Right. Maybe I need to sit down and write down, like, for one, how I'm feeling and what I want to say to this person. I think that's the first thing, is evaluate how you feel before you discuss how that person is. Before you say what they're doing, And I think that, again, checking in with yourself, taking that pause moment, are two essential things that you can do before getting into an argument. And are really going back and forth with somebody. And I don't even want to say going back and forth, because I don't even recommend that. I like what Bree said about writing down what she want to say before she communicates or talk it out, whatever disagreement is going on. I think that's something that both parties should do. And I'm a cap too, so I do it and I suggest that.
So he's got the argument in the
argument in the tuck.
In the soundtrack journal. Like, hold on. Wait, page 37, I got some fire for your ass. Hold on.
Right? I got some fire for you.
But also, man, I think something that's key, though, when it comes to a disagreement with anyone, is being able to, for one, like, check yourself, even give them the time, and be able to plan for the time to revisit that conversation. In other words, we both probably heated right now. Let's check back in after dinner, after we eat.
Worth it.
I better yet, man, maybe today's not the day they dressed it, but let's do this tomorrow around noon time. You got time for lunch or whatever. Something like that, where it's not just thrown on you. Because I think that's a big issue when it comes to disagreements, is that we tend to just dump stuff on or dump all our issues or how we feeling in that moment, to the point where it's not productive. You know what I mean?
Right.
Versus, we both saying we're going to plan out the time, we're going to meet and talk about it. I took the time to really evaluate how I feel and write down what I want to say, so I can communicate it effectively, and of course in a way where it's me, it's not just coming out of anger or frustration. It's coming about how I really truly feel from what has happened or what has transpired.
Yeah, I would also say, before you have the conversation, ask them, is this a good time? Because I need to talk to you about something serious. The second thing is, oftentimes in communicating, we forget to breathe. So sometimes just be quiet and take a deep breath, because we're just communicating and talking and screaming and yelling. It's not getting anywhere. And then another thing I learned in therapy was to communicate back to them what they said. So if they just communicated, okay, that curtain is black. Okay, so just to make sure I understand, that curtain is black, right? Okay, that gives you a moment to just kind of like process,
Right.
and it makes them feel heard.
They do. We do that in sales a lot. Used to sell cars, so you'll in sales they'll tell you something. Let me just make sure this is what you're saying, because then you sort of got on it earlier. I forgot what it was. Maybe when I start talking, I think. But in sales, like when you go to sell somebody something, instead of me just emotion or just going to you and trying to sell you a product, like you would love this red cup. Red might not even be your favorite color. I'll come to you and say, you want to buy a cup, right? So tell me about the cup you're looking for. Then say, I'm looking for a blue cup that's about this tall. And this. So then I would address my sales pitch to what they're telling me, which is need-based selling rather than me just spitting out information. So it sort of ties back to this. Like when you're in an argument, you need to hear what the person is saying first before you just start talking about stuff that they had no, you know what I'm saying? We weren't even talking about that.
Right.
But now I hear what you're saying and I can address it as, you know what I'm saying? Like you're saying, I'm making sure I'm affirming with you that this is what we're talking about, and let's keep going from here, because you can just lose track and get off on a tangent quickly in the heat of the moment. If you're not breathing, if you're not thinking about, you know, what you want to say, it can just go left. So just being able to think, I guess, and have your emotions together during an argument. I mean, we're talking about arguments, but during those times of just disagreements, or when you want to have that time with somebody, is important.
Yeah.
We don't hear that now.
Oh shit! Oh,
And we back. Here we go. Here we go.
It's the epicenter, baby.
And you know what it is.
Girls like Sterling, King Bril
Done it again.
Now who they got up on the pod?
Gotta watch and see.
Pour up a little drink and
Put
put
this
it
on
on
your
your
teeth.
teeth.
Wrong one, man. Do it at the end. Yeah. There we go. What you say? Y'all know the vibe, man. We back. That's a vibe. That's a hell of an intro.
hey yo, that's
You're
funny as
welcome.
hell, man.
Like it.
That's
You
funny,
feel me?
man. Hopefully our audio listeners enjoyed that, man.
Yeah, we trying to do this for y'all, man.
Hell yeah, it's gonna be fire. Man, we appreciate y'all, man. This has been a fire episode. I feel like we learned a lot. I feel like our viewers and our listeners definitely learned a lot. I feel like our audience learned a lot. If you guys could just tell us, you know, kind of give us your spiel in terms of, you know, things that you're doing right now actively in terms of mental health and therapy and coping real quick, and then giving us a wrap and telling us where we can find you guys at, you know, if we ever want to reach out and just talk or actually book a session or buy the soundtrack journal, you know what I mean? So if you could get into that.
Give us your closing statement.
Closing segment. Miss Healing Hottie.
This has been a pleasure for sure. And I would just advocate to everyone, create your routine, make sure you have a support system. And whenever you feel like you're kind of lost and need guidance, go to therapy. It's okay. I promise. They're not going to hurt you. And if you don't like them, just find another. You can follow me on Instagram at Healing Hottie, TikTok, The Healing Hottie, and it's a 3 for the last E.
That's fine.
Ooh. Man, some important words are some things I tell folks is make sure you check in with yourself. And if you can, do it often, do it daily, do it multiple times throughout the day. Check in with yourself, man. See what it's, just check how you feel, and then check to see what it is that you might need to help you feel better. You know, I think that's just something that's pretty straightforward, and I can go down, you know, many other things that you guys can do. And as we talk about it, with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, I actually just released I started the 30-day mental hygiene challenge. And really what that is every single day I give you a new habit, a new tool, a new resource to help you start making your mental health a priority. Something that you can incorporate within your day-to-day routine or your weekly routine that helps you start to do exactly that, check in with yourself and check in with your mental health. On top of that, as we already talked about, I have the soundtrack journal, Make Your Life a Priority. You can find that by just searching soundtrackjournal.com or just going to Amazon and search it on Amazon. It's also on Amazon. Something else that I'm doing every Wednesday. I've been doing this since 2021 with my partner. You know, every Wednesday at 7 a.m. we do a virtual walk and talk. You know, where we have motivational conversations. You know, topics on wellness, mental health. And it's a good way to start your day. You know, a good break in the week where you're getting up early. You're able to have some very inspiring conversations with other great people who's doing great things. And again, just building that support and that network where you have that outlet to be able to talk about whatever's going on in a safe space. Of course, facilitated by a therapist and someone else who's a wellness professional. Let's see here, man. If you're a person who's looking for therapy, check out my website, soundtracktolifellc.com. I'm accepting new clients in the DMV area as well as North Carolina. You can find me on Instagram at TaylorFamousQ and all other social media platforms.
Appreciate y'all, man. Awesome episode. We definitely learned a lot. Appreciate, like I said, this is the first time we had two different, like we've had guests, but it's usually just one. This first time we also had a male and female guest. So y'all the first of very many firsts. So appreciate y'all for coming on, man. It's been lit. Y'all are now friends of the show, as we like to call it. Absolutely. Anytime you want to come kick it, you know what I'm saying, vibe out with us, y'all welcome. Just, you know what I'm saying, hit us up.
No doubt.
And if I need therapy, one of y'all be getting a call.
I'm not a therapist.
Come on, healing.
But the conversation can be therapeutic.
Ooh. Air horn.
See, I'm listening, man. I'm listening, man. Sterl, man. Closing remarks. What you got for the people, man?
I'm good. That was
it. Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
I didn't know you had an extra spill, man. But that was beautiful, man. I appreciate you guys for coming on. Like he just said, you guys are friends of the show. Anytime you got a word you want to get off, I feel like that's something that we all need to hear. Definitely come back. This is a home for you guys now.
New book coming out.
New book.
When you decide to start your courses,
just follow and like the pictures. It's healing Hottie. What, she got the cloud bathroom picture up there. Very healing. That's a healed woman right there, man.
Right.
But with that being said, man, thank you guys for watching and listening, man. Make sure you subscribe, download the episode, any type of engagement, man. Just make sure you go over there. Even on Spotify, they got this little thing where you can take quizzes and answer questions, man. Make sure you tap in with us up there.
Feedback.
Absolutely, feedback. And with that being said, that's all for this show, man. It's the EPICENTRE podcast. That's DAEPICENTRE, the British way, in case you didn't know.
The UK way.
And I'm King Bril, and
Girls Like Sterl.
Peace.
Well, it's the epicenter, baby, and you know what it is. Girls like Sterling, King Bril done it again. Now who they got up on the